So now we are going to do the video for your lesson for today. Before I get into that though, because domain and range was something that was a struggle before I came in this year, I just made up a few quick problems. You can just watch this part. I know you don't have this in your notes, but I just wanted to go over this again. So domain is left to right, and since this has arrows on it, it's going to keep going forever. The way that we write that, first of all, domain is X. And then the notation is it's this little sideways E and then a capital R. The R means reals. It means every real number. So what it means is you're going forever and ever and ever. Range is Y. Now, range is up and down. Domain is left and right. Range is up and down. This line is also going to go upwards and downwards forever and ever and ever. So that's also going to be all reals. It means X is an element of reals and Y is an element of reals. That's what it stands for. But it just is the notation that means it's going on forever. You're going to see that. So you do need to get on board and know that notation. Basically, if there's arrows on the ends, it's going to keep on going and going. For this one, similar, it's still a line, but it's a vertical line. So for your domain, you don't get everything. You only get the one number where this is on the x-axis. So the only x number we get is 5. So it's literally just x equals 5. Range, this does go upwards and downwards forever, so it's going to be all reals. That's how we say that, is all reals. Every real number, R is reals, it goes on forever. That's how that's going to look. So for this one, I know it looks like the arrows are pointing upwards, but left and right, this is going to continue on going left and right forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So your domain is all real. It's going to keep spreading out left and right forever. The range is not, though. You only want Y values that are above this point where the graph stops. So we want Y greater than or equal to, meaning we're staying above this number, which is -4. So greater than or equal to -4. Really similar with this one, domain is going to be everything, all reals. I know it looks like the arrows point downwards, but it's going to spread out left and right forever. It's going to go like off the paper and down the hallway. You know, it's going to keep going forever and ever. Range is Y. This time you want to stay below a certain number. So it's going to be Y is less than or equal to, and in this case, it stops at 3. All right, so I hope I didn't bore you with that. You do have to know that. And when I came back after being gone, I could tell that this was something that was just not covered, and I just want to make sure that you know how to do it, because you do need to know that. It's going to be on the SOL. All right, so now we are going to do the actual notes. And this is on your forms of linear equations. So we're just going to go over the different formats today, and then next class we'll get into graphing them. So because you have to be able to change between these three. So your standard form is AX plus BY equals C. So you have to get your X's first, then your Y's, then your equal sign. Which isn't that hard, but the thing is A has to be positive and a whole number. So it can't be negative and it can't be a fraction. So sometimes you do have to mess with that a little bit to get it to be positive and get it to be a whole number. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. You've seen this sort of before when you were doing the line of best fit, when you put it into the calculator with the squiggly and the little ones after the x and y. That's your slope-intercept form. M is your slope. M is the letter we use for slope. And B is the y-intercept. So that's where it hits the y-axis. And then point slope form is y minus y1 equals m. Again, m is your slope. And then in parentheses, x minus x1. This looks like a mess right now, but when we put actual numbers in, this x1 and y1 will be numbers like 2 or 7 or 12, and the m will be a number. So it kind of looks like just a whole mess of letters right now, but when we do an actual problem, it'll make more sense when there's actual numbers in it, I promise. All right, so right now we're just going to identify, is it standard, is it slope intercept, or is it point slope? So this one, y equals, and then it follows the mx plus b pattern. I know this is minus instead of plus. You can think of it as plus a -7. Don't get hung up on the pluses and the minuses. It's just which format is it, and it follows this format. So that is our slope-intercept. This one we have our x's, then our y's, then our equal sign. So that's following our standard form. This one is too, x's, then y's, then your equal sign. So again, that's standard form. Here we've got y minus a number equals, and then this is your slope, and then x minus a number. So that is following this format. That's our point slope. Again, right now we're just identifying them, that's all. And then this is y equals mx plus b. Your slope is the -4/5. Your 8 is the y-intercept. So that's your slope-intercept. So just which format is it following is all that we're doing for right now. Now we're going to rearrange them to get them into the different formats. So this says write them in standard form. So that means we need to get the x's first, then the y's, then the equal sign. So we're just going to rearrange it. So we have x, then y, then the equal sign. So right now I need to bring these 3x to the other side. I'm going to subtract the 3x to the other side because I need the x's to come first. I'm just moving them over there. That's all that it is. So those are getting subtracted over. It'll be -3x plus y equals 5. And so I now have it in the right order. I just kind of like scooted these x's to the other side. I have x, then y, then my equal sign. But this needs to be a positive number. So the way that we fix that is I'm going to give the whole thing a hug and multiply it all by a -1. We're just going, basically everything's just going to switch signs. They're all just going to flip-flop. You're distributing a -1 through the whole thing. So it is going to be a +3x minus 1y equals -5. And it's okay for the other parts to be negative. You just can't start with a negative number. So now we have it in our standard form, x, then y, then equal sign. So same thing with this one. Now, first of all, I need to get rid of the parentheses. This one's in point slope, by the way. If you're identifying, this is your point slope format. It's following this format. First thing you have to do is get rid of the parentheses because we don't want those in there. So we're going to need to distribute. So we're going to leave this side alone and distribute the -4. That'll give us -4x plus 8. So -4 times -2 is going to give you a +8. Then what I want to do is get all of my like terms together. So I'm going to subtract this 3 to the other side so I can combine the 8 and the 3. So it's going to be y equals -4x plus 5. And then I need to get it in the right order. So x, then y, then the equal sign. So I'm going to move this 4x to the other side. Algebra is really just moving things. You're taking things and moving them to the other side of the equal sign is all that it is. And so this is going to be written 4x plus y equals 5. And so I have it in the right order, x, then y, then the equal sign. And my starting number is positive and it's a whole number. So that's what we want it to look like. Let me see. Am I changing the directions on these ones or we're still doing standard? We're still doing standard form. All right, so we want to get rid of this fraction. You're not going to be allowed to have a fraction with your x. The part that goes with the x has to be positive and it has to be a whole number. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the fraction. Here's how you would do that. For this one, it's a 1/3. I'm going to multiply the whole thing by a 3, and that will cancel the fraction out. For example, if it was a 1/5, you would multiply the whole thing by a 5. You just want to get rid of the fraction. So we're going to multiply a 3 to this whole thing here. So it'll be 3y equals, now these 3's will cancel, which is the whole point. You have 1x minus 18. 3 times 6 will give you 18. So I just multiplied a 3 to the whole thing. And again, the point of that is to get rid of the fraction. So again, if it was like a 1/7, you would multiply by 7. So now I want to get it in the right order. I need the x's to be first. So I'm going to subtract over this x. It'll be -x plus 3y equals -18. Don't forget about that negative there. And now I'm almost there. I have it in the right order. I have x, then y, then the equal sign, but this isn't allowed to be negative. So just like we did on the other side of the paper, I'm going to multiply everything by a -1. And what it's going to do is just everything will flip-flop its sign. So it'll be a positive x minus 3y equals positive 18. And so you have it in the right order, x, y, and then the equal sign. And you don't have a fraction or a negative out front. All right, so for this one, again, we want to distribute the 5. This is in point slope format. We want to get rid of the parentheses. So we're going to distribute the 5 through there. That'll give us 5x plus 15. And then I want to combine the like terms. So I want to get the 8 and the 15 together. So I'm going to add this 8 over. So that will give us y equals 5x plus, what is that, 23? And so now I need to get it in the right order. I want the x's, then the y's, then the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract over the 5x to get it in the right order. And then we're almost there, but again, it's starting with a negative number, and you're not allowed to start it with a negative is the rule. So we're going to multiply a negative through the whole thing, and it'll all just switch its signs. So positive 5x minus y equals negative 23. So those ones we're all putting it in standard form, your x, then your y, then your equal sign. These next ones we're going to put in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So all of these we have to rearrange so that it's y equals mx plus b. Basically, it means get the y by itself. You want y equals all the rest of it. So if we want to get y alone, first of all, I'm going to have to subtract over the 7x. So I'm just moving this to the other side, scooching it over there. That's all we're doing. So it's 2y equals negative 7x plus 18. You don't want to write 18 minus 7x because you want the x to come first and then the number. When it goes in this format, you want the x part to come first and then the other number. So you just want it in the right order. And then the last step to get y by itself would be to divide by 2. Just make sure you divide everything by 2. So you're just dividing all of the terms by 2. And so we get y equals negative 7 halves x. I mean, that doesn't reduce. That fraction can't reduce, so just leave it alone. Don't put a decimal, just leave it like that. And then 18 divided by 2 is 9. So the reason this format helps us is we can now see what the slope is. Your slope is you would go down 7 over 2, and then your y-intercept is 9. So you can see that as well. So this one starts out in point slope form. Again, the first thing I want to do is get rid of the parentheses. So we're going to distribute the 5. This side is going to just stay what it is. That would be 5x plus 35. And then I want to get the y alone. So I'm going to add this 1 to the other side. So y equals 5x plus 36. And then you have it in your slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Your slope is 5. And your y-intercept is 36. It's hitting the y-axis at 0, 36. So let's try that again. We want the y alone. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take these 5x and move them to the other side. So I'm going to subtract over the 5x. That is going to give me negative 3y equals negative 5x plus 12. Again, you don't want to write 12 minus 5x because you want the x part to come first. We're just trying to get it in the right order is all that it is. So you want the x part to come first, then the other number, and then you're going to divide everything by negative 3. So just make sure you divide everything by whatever that number is. In this case, it was 2. We divided everything by 2. Here it's negative 3. So y equals, that's the whole point. We got the y by itself. Negative 5 divided by negative 3. Now, 5/3 won't reduce, so kind of the same thing here. We're going to leave it alone, but we have 2 negatives, so they're going to cancel, and it'll be positive 5/3. So when you have a negative divided by a negative, it's going to cancel. And then here, 12 divided by negative 3 would be negative 4. So here, your slope is 5/3. You go up 5 over 3. And your y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So you hit the y-axis at negative 4. And then one more, again, first thing we want to do is get rid of the parentheses. So that's going to give us negative 2x minus 20. This side just stays the same. And then we need to combine these like terms. So I'm gonna subtract over the 8. And we get y equals negative 2x, negative 20, and negative 8 will give you negative 28. And that's it. It's y equals mx plus b. So your slope for that one is negative 2, and your y-intercept is 0, comma, negative 28. It hits the y-axis at negative 28.